Hello ladies, hello gentlemen, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a sleeve for my Apple MacBook Pro which I attempted to create by myself out of leather. While you watch this story, keep in mind that this is my first leather crafting project with hopefully many more to come. Enjoy. I have just invested in a brand new latest and greatest MacBook Pro, the one with the most cores, whose only purpose is to let me edit high quality videos for the lovely people who choose to watch my content. I need something to protect it, and nothing's better than the best protective material made by God himself: skin. I mean, leather. My own skin gets sweaty sometimes, so don't mind the fingerprints I'll leave all over its shiny surfaces. I believe the ability to improvise and adapt as you go is one of the most important skills a person can have. So, to improve and refine those skills, where an experienced leather worker would use a pattern to cut the leather, I will simply use the MacBook itself, marking the leather half an inch from its edge and hoping for the best. I am aiming for a tight fit, so I don't have much room for carelessness, but I also know leather stretches over time and starts fitting the object perfectly. That's why the half-inch margin felt right, no complicated calculations or adjustments needed. The impulsive marking on the leather might also be fueled by the fact that the leather I'm using isn't the highest quality. I bought this crocodile pattern cow leather online, and from touching it, I could tell it wasn't the best money could buy. The more I worked with it, the more I could argue it's probably one of the worst full-grain leathers available. Or maybe that's what I tell myself, and my impulsiveness comes from my childlike nature when it comes to decisions. But I see that as the right thing to do. Children are the purest form of consciousness, and consciousness is the only thing that's true. To never lose the child within yourself is to win at everything you decide to pursue. I've wanted to pursue leather crafting since my father told me that our family name means saddler in Arabic when I was just a young, ignorant boy, and that our ancestors were potentially saddle makers. To me, saddle making is the ultimate, refulgent goal. I want to perfect leatherwork until it becomes second nature before I even think about creating that extension between the human and the noble equestrian animal. I have a long way to go from cutting leather with a Stanley knife, but a long way doesn't scare me. I find it exciting to work and watch yourself transform into the person you dream of. There's a scene in the movie Margin Call where a finance guy, an engineer by trade, reflects on his past. He tells his boss that one little bridge he built saved two communities a combined 1,530 years of time not wasted in a car. His boss replies, after a thoughtful moment, "Don't beat yourself up too much about that bridge. Some people just like taking the long way home." If it were me, I'd thank the guy for building the bridge and use it every day. But I think what the director was trying to convey is that the journey is more important than the destination. In fact, there is no destination. We're always on our journeys. This second piece of leather I bought from the same online store, and it's softer to the touch and easier to work with. It's not that I'm looking for easy work. I actually prefer hard tasks. Hard tasks come with a special feeling, an inner reward that manifests externally and attracts people and creation toward you. That's why we dislike spoiled, entitled people. There's something honorable about choosing the hard task. Maybe it's because great courage and perseverance are required to complete it, but the inner reward makes it worth it, even without the honor or recognition. Doing the noble thing is only noble because nobody else does it. Imagine a world where everyone willingly took on the hardest responsibilities. No great people would arise because we'd all be great. So when you think about it, honor and nobility are byproducts of a society where most choose the easy task. If someone chooses the hard task just for honor, they're no different from the rest. The hard task should be done because it's the right thing to do. So watch till the end to see how much I overworked these two pieces of leather into a MacBook sleeve. And by the way, that's not what I mean by choosing the hard task. You'd think it's hard to work hard, but what's actually harder to do is work just the right amount. Balancing everything perfectly is a task we all have to complete for ourselves through experience. Overworking this leather comes from my lack of experience. If you're a professional leather worker watching this and thinking this is a nightmare, please do leave me some tips in the comments, and be as harsh as you want, because just like choosing the hard task, adapting in a harsh environment reveals what someone is truly capable of. Some people might think I'm cutting corners by starting leather work with no prior experience, no mentor, and without taking the traditional approach of taking on an internship or becoming an apprentice. But I could argue that throwing yourself straight into practicing what you want to perfect is the quickest way there. Learning from your own mistakes is what wisdom is. I don't want this MacBook Sleeve to be traditionally perfect. I want to see in reality what I see in my mind. And even though the design looks perfectly smooth in my head, I won't know how to achieve good enough smooth until I actually put my hand on the sandpaper and start sanding. How paradoxical is it that you need to roughen something up to make it smooth, or that you need to put so much effort into something just to make it look effortless, or that you have to learn so much only to realize that you know nothing? Maybe the world is half paradoxical to encourage us to explore the unknown, and half logical to ground us in what we already know. If we were purely reasonable, we'd see no reason for anything. If we were purely emotional, we would see no emotion in anything. Because we are both, we exist. Our whole existence is something like an edge, but for there to be an edge, there must be two sides. We usually choose the one we feel more comfortable with, neglecting or even mistreating the other side, unaware that the other side is essential for our existence. You know what else exists? This Japanese burnishing cream which makes the edge of your leather shiny and almost perfect. Just apply a little on the edge and use your burnishing tool back and forth until you get your desired finish. Now it's time to glue the two pieces together like the heavens and the earth, but probably not as well. I'm only gluing it so I can sew it later, so stay tuned to see how well I sew, hopefully well enough that nothing escapes this MacBook case. Speaking of escape, what do you guys think? Will we ever truly escape our heavens and reach space? Well, we've done it already, you say. Sure, but have you? I'm an optimistic person, and I'm looking forward to the day within my lifetime when space travel is commercially available and normalized. But I'm afraid my human desire to explore the furthest parts of the universe will never be satisfied. I dream of meeting other conscious beings and life forms and being able to communicate with them, just like I dream to communicate with every single one that has made it so far in this video. And to achieve that, we might even need to achieve immortality first. I wonder when the day will come when, unlike these two pieces of leather glued together, we will never dry out. To reach that, we still have a lot of shaping to do. Shaping ourselves with the intention of improving the overall quality of our lives. We already have a large quantity of humans, and the number is growing. But with that comes the responsibility to increase the number of humans who are healthy and happy. Life provides abundance for every creature that comes out of it. You only have to be willing to accept it. And acceptance is what we all struggle with. Why accept a healthy, strong body and mind when temptations constantly lure us into choosing the easy path? Because you want to increase the quality of your life. Why build the home, family, and social circle and the life you know you should build? Because once you increase the quality of your life, you'll experience things that feel indescribable. That indescribable, almost orgasmic state of being is what those before us have been tracing the path for. People who stand out from the crowd like bold black letters on clean white paper. And from those letters, whole libraries measure out the straight path to keep us from straying from the edge. made for those who desperately need to see it. In tracing that same satisfaction, many still never find the needle in the haystack, because in many worlds it is impossible. The gods of those worlds, aware that they are designers, still choose to weaken their creation. Their choices being divine, they become reality. Each reality, however, is pierced by another sharper one and left violated, as though existence itself is a fragile piece of leather, constantly snagged by truths too jagged to ignore. What we call the world is only a surface layer, trembling under the pressure of deeper dimensions that insist on revealing themselves, splitting open the illusions we cling to. But we shall not forget that even those that pierce are only sharp, and the force that drives them comes from elsewhere. The stud is never its own intention, it is merely an instrument for another instrument, and the pressure is born from hidden realms. What wounds us does not originate in the wound itself, but in the silent engines of reality that push one layer against another until rupture becomes inevitable. Once there is a wound, there is never a return to what once was. The past becomes a distant outline, a shape remembered but no longer inhabitable. Yet this is not a tragedy, only a transformation. One can move through each wound only by carrying a healing force powerful enough to reshape the broken edges, a quiet power that binds what was split and renders it stronger than before. For every fracture, when met with tenderness rather than fear, becomes an invitation for depth, resilience, and a connection far more profound than the untouched surface ever allowed. And when the bond has grown stronger than ever before, pause, just for a breath, to reflect on the quiet miracle of what has been rebuilt. Let gratitude ripple through you for all that was broken, mended, reshaped and made possible through endurance. Yet even in that moment of fullness, you may find yourself unsettled, stirred by an ancient longing that refuses to rest. For the human spirit is rarely content with completion. It seeks new horizons, new transformations, craving more depth, more truth, more becoming. Satisfaction flickers, then dissolves, leaving only the whisper that there is still further to go. And once you decide to go, never turn around. The past will try to call you back with familiar echoes, but you must walk forward carrying only the wisdom you've gathered, the lessons etched into you by every rupture and every healing. Apply them again and again, as if weaving a pattern the universe has been waiting for you to complete. In this repetition, this sacred, deliberate persistence, miracles begin to unfold. Not sudden flashes of magic, but quiet shifts, subtle alignments, the world rearranging itself around your evolving truth. What once felt impossible begins to open, like a door you never knew you were holding the key to. Miracles happen every day, though they seldom arrive with thunder or spectacle. Instead, they slip into our lives as subtle strokes of color, just vivid enough to make us pause, to tilt our perception, to recognize that something has quietly shifted. These small illuminations are reminders, gentle but insistent, that persistence has its own kind of magic. For when you refuse to surrender your dreams, when you keep nurturing them even in darkness, they begin to stir, to shimmer, to take on form. Slowly, almost ever so slightly at first, they animate themselves, becoming living extensions of your devotion, responding to your faith with movement of their own. Be not afraid to personalize yourself. to paint your being with the colors, textures, and contours that feel true to your spirit. Let yourself become a character of your own making, one sculpted not by expectation, but by the quiet insistence of your inner world. There is a sacredness in choosing your own form, in allowing your quirks, passions, and contradictions to stand unapologetically in the light. To be unique is not an act of rebellion, but an act of remembrance, a return to the singular essence you carried into this life before the world told you what to be. Embrace that essence, refine it, let it breathe, for your individuality is not an accident, it is your gift, your compass, and your truest contribution to the unfolding story of existence. And be not shameful nor guilty, for the cracks in your journey are not marks of failure, but gateways to understanding. To feel regret is human, but to let it anchor you is optional. Instead, let it dissolve into the quiet knowing that each experience has its purpose, each hardship its lesson. There is no need to hide, no need to apologize for striving, for even in imperfection, you are participating in the profound alchemy of life. So turn every day into the possibility of wonder.